Hey church, and welcome to this week's small group. Now this last Sunday we asked the question, what does a true friend look like? And we came to the conclusion that a true friend treats you like family. You know, the biggest drawback to brand new friendships is that they can cost time and they can cost money. You know, sometimes we're just too busy for new friendships. But in today's Bible study, we're going to see a new friendship that's forming. A new friendship between Jesus and two sisters, Mary and Martha. Now the disciples probably met Mary and Martha first because the disciples would go out into the towns ahead of Jesus and they would make friends with people and then they would bring Jesus in. So Martha and Mary both were very excited about having Jesus come in, stay at their house, and they both wanted to be good hosts. But they both also had two very different ways of being good hosts. So start out by reading Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 40. Not too many verses this week in our small group. And ask this question, who owned the house that Jesus was staying in? And why is Martha so upset and frustrated? And from what you know of Mary and Martha, what would you say about their temperaments? And if you're not familiar with the story of how Jesus raised their brother from the dead, you can review a little bit about Mary and Martha later on in John chapter 11, verses 17 through 32. Who do you identify more with, Mary or Martha? And what are the strengths of being a Martha in life and in ministry? And what are some of the weaknesses? I don't know about you, but I can relate with Martha. In fact, I get very upset every time I read this story because I feel like Mary's being so lazy. And I feel like Jesus validates lazy people in this story. I love Martha. Why? Because she gets stuff done. But at this point, Martha has lost her focus on Jesus and is consumed with worry over things that really don't matter in comparison with spending time with Jesus. You know, Martha, don't worry about the dishes. Jesus is more important than the dishes right now. But you know what? This is so convicting to me because sometimes I get so focused on the things that don't really matter. Let's see Jesus' response to Martha's request. Read Luke chapter 10, verse 41. What usually happens in your life when you lose focus on God? And who or what do you blame when life becomes chaotic? When have you found yourself recently in a Martha-like frenzy? And what was your source of worry? You know, I thought I had this whole relationship with God thing figured out. And then Michelle and I decided to start two new businesses. And I find myself worrying so much. And God has to remind me consistently that He's in control. I'm in control, Todd, not you. I'm in control. And He constantly has to remind me of what's important. And it's so weird. I feel so stupid because I feel like I should have this figured out by now. But God has taken me out of my comfort zone and He's showing me a whole new level of faith. Next, I want you to read Lamentations chapter 3, verses 22 through 24. And in Luke chapter 10, verse 41, how does Jesus refocus Martha's perspective? And also in Luke chapter 10, verse 41, the passage more literally reads that Mary has chosen the better portion. So what background does Lamentations chapter 3 give concerning Jesus' use of the word portion? Wow, God renews His compassion for us every morning. He is so faithful to us. So why do we put any other portions ahead of that? This Bible story invites us to see Jesus Himself as our portion. So where are you tempted to value something else as a more valuable portion than Jesus? And how does this study invite you to read the Bible differently? You know, sometimes reading the Bible is the lowest thing on our priority list. But maybe if we were to see Jesus like Mary saw Jesus, we would value our time with him reading his scripture so much more. Are you ever tempted to view completing tasks as more important than relationships? And if so, why? And how does a performance-based view of life work in opposition of the message of the gospel of Jesus? I've already confessed to you that I tend to be more task-oriented than people-oriented sometimes. And I think the reason is because I think that my value is based on the things that I've accomplished. So I feel like I have to get things done in order to be worthy. And you know, that flies in the face of the gospel. You see, our society says that you have to accomplish in order to be worthy, but the gospel says it's not about what you do that makes you important. It's about who you are. And through Jesus, he gives us the right to become children of God. That's where my true value comes from. Close out with this last question. What is one thing that you can do differently this week to honor Jesus and strengthen a relationship? If possible, make an appointment on your calendar with an alarm. In fact, maybe you're here today, you don't know what it is you could do differently. Well, why don't you as a small group put together a lunch bunch of just people from a small group and then invite somebody to go to lunch with you that you don't know, that's not a part of your group. In fact, hey, Jesse, would you like to go to lunch bunch with me this week? There you go. It's that easy. Close in prayer. Ask for Jesus to help us refocus on being a missionary, being more concerned about people than tasks. I want to remind you that a true friend treats you like family. So let's go be a true friend this week. God bless you, and we'll see you on Sunday.